Out here on the range again with Firearm Fury. Welcome. Today we're doing a comparison between expensive AR and a budget AR. Go ahead and go through the specs in there on each one of them, and we'll compare the accuracy and the velocities and see what we have.
We'll go over the budget AR. It just has a stock Magpul MOE stock. It has a MOE handguard. Has an MOE pistol grip. Standard mil-spec trigger. It's just been polished, so it's the only difference is it's smoother. The trigger pull is not any lighter. It's just a smoother trigger pull, less grit and everything. Has Palmetto State Armory lower. Has a Palmetto State Armory handguard. Has the mid-grade Palmetto State Armory barrel, which is in 223 Wild, and it is an 18-inch. It has the only upgraded part, besides the trigger, if you consider that upgraded, I don't know that's necessarily an upgrade, is the nickel-coated bolt carrier group. And then I have a Athlon 126x24 scope. I did have another video of that budget AR, but had some technical mishaps and no longer have that video, unfortunately. So hopefully you are able to get a good look at it in the footage. Anyway, I can go over some of the things. It just had an Anderson lower, had a 24-inch MGM 1-in-7 twist, same twist length as the budget AR, chambered in 223 Wild. The other major upgrade was the stock, which was a Magpul PRS stock. Has the adjustable length of pull and adjustable cheek weld. It also had the Strike Industries handguard, free-folded handguard, and then it had a Timney trigger on it. The optic mounted on it was a Citron 10-42 or 10-40 or something by 56, so it had definitely more magnification. It was a little easier to pinpoint what I was shooting at with that, but I feel like I had a pretty good pinpoint with this 1-to-6 scope. On that larger target I shoot at with this, so I don't think that was a major factor. The major upgrades I'd say to that one, it was the stock, the Timney trigger, and the MGM barrel, obviously. Now it didn't have a nickel boron gold bolt carrier group. Instead it had a nitride finish, which I feel like is fairly comparable to the nickel bolt carrier group in the aspect of functioning, how much friction it has while functioning.
Okay, first up we've got the expensive gun. We're shooting this American Eagle 55 grain. These bullets here. Go ahead and see what they can do. All right, this is the velocity from the expensive AR with the Federal 55 grain bullets. Now we're using those same 55 grain bullets from Federal in the budget AR at 100 yards. I'll be shooting at the middle target, but I'm going to adjust my turret so that it shoots a few inches high. That middle target is the easiest target to pinpoint with this 6 power scope. So we'll go ahead and shoot a group. Okay, this is the budget AR, the federal 55 grains. Now we'll move to some Independence 55 grain ammunition. This is kind of budget box ammunition. All right, this is the Independence 55 grain ammunition. Okay, this is the Independence ammunition 55 grain out of the budget AR. I'll go ahead and shoot the middle target, and I've adjusted my scope back down to 0, so it should be hitting real close to the middle. Now this is only going to be a 4-shot group. I ran out of that ammunition and I only had 4 shots left, so we'll go ahead and see what these 4 shots do. How's a failure to feed with this 55 grain Independence ammunition? I'll be honest, haven't really had any jams or issues with this one, so that's a rarity. All right, this is the budget AR with the Independence 55 grain. Up next, we've got the cheapest bullets so far. These are reloaded, it's just reloaded ammunition by a local manufacturing company. And they are 55 grains, and they're actually blemished rounds. So the cases have a little, sometimes they'll have a little dent in the case or something. So they're fine to shoot, but they're just called blemished. Okay, this is the expensive AR with the reloaded ammunition. Oh, for some reason we only got 1 round on that. This is the reloaded 55 grain ammunition. Again, I'm shooting at the center with the budget AR, but I have I've adjusted my reticle so that it will be shooting a little low. Okay, this is the reloaded 55 grain ammunition.
All right, time to get into the data. I've created this Excel sheet in hopes it's easier to read the data. So first of all, we'll go over the federal 55 grain ammunition. The group size with the budget AR was about 4 inches. The group size with the expensive AR was just over an inch. I'd say 1 1/8, 1 1/4. So that's a pretty big difference right there. The velocity, with that extra length, that expensive AR was about 5%, had about 5% more velocity, which is about 170 feet per second greater, at least for the average velocity. Now, the velocity does two things. When in long range shooting, it's easier to do long range shooting with it, less adjustments for both elevation and windage. Now, with this small amount, you might notice it when you get out there a little further, but I don't know that would be a huge deal in long range with this compared to that budget AR velocity. And then the other aspect you have in regards with adding velocity is foot-pounds of energy. Now, I did the calculations in the difference in foot-pounds of energy with this caliber, and velocity is like 4, so it's pretty negligible. Next, we go to the Independence ammunition. It did not shoot well in either gun. It was about 3.5-inch group with the budget AR, which, keep in mind, that was only 4 shots. The expensive AR had about a 4-inch group, and the velocity increase was about the same. It was 180 in this, but the velocity was quicker in this than the federal ammunitions. There's again about a 5% increase of velocity compared to the 24 to the 18-inch barrel. And then we go to the factory reloads. The factory reloads velocity was the lowest of the 3 rounds, and unfortunately, the expensive AR we only caught 1 round on the chronograph, so I'm assuming it's probably going to be about 5% faster. If you look at the chronograph data, you'll see that this load had the worst standard deviation. The high and low were pretty far apart. The velocities varied quite a bit. As far as the group size on the factory ammunition, it was about the same. The only difference was that there was 1 flyer with that budget AR. Now, that could have been me. I don't know the exact cost of that expensive AR, but I can tell you it's at least $1,200. I've kind of already gone over the main differences, and based on the data and the video, I'll let you decide what you think, and I'll also give you my opinion. It just really depends what you're looking for, but I can tell you the drawbacks of the pros and cons of the weight. The weight, having a light rifle, obviously it's really easy to maneuver and to carry around. The advantage of having the heavier weight is when you're shooting, it's a little easier to keep it steady. I do think it helps in accuracy. And as far as holding steady, it's a little easier to hold steady and to maintain that hold. The trigger, I honestly think the trigger, if you're a beginner, I think the trigger makes more of a difference than if you have some experience. I feel like the trigger makes it easier to be consistent. It makes it easier to squeeze off a shot. That's all I'm going to say about the trigger. I think that's really a personal preference. Now, obviously, those more expensive triggers, they are nicer, and they do feel better, but does it transfer to the accuracy? Well, I think that is all dependent on the person and the situation. And then as far as the bolt carrier group, well, I'll just tell you this. The nitride coating and the nickel coating, as in regards to the phosphorus coating, which is I think what the mil-spec bolt carrier group is, the nickel and nitride and those aftermarket finishes, those bolt carrier groups are a lot slicker. Now, generally, you don't have any problems with the stock phosphorus bolt carrier group. It seems to work and operate fine, but there seems to be a pretty big difference in the friction between the phosphorus and these aftermarket ones, specifically the nickel and the nitride. They do not have as much friction, so it's easier for the bolt to go back and forth. And I do, that is one of the upgrades that I did with the budget AR. I felt like it was worth it. I don't know that it's maybe like $50 more depending on the brand and the coating you get, but I do think that's worth it for sure. The other upgrade obviously is the barrel, which is, I mean, it can be anywhere from to $200 extra to almost as much as you want to spend extra for a kind of a more mid-grade to a brand name, well-known name barrel maker, barrel in an AR. And the difference in that, I think the data illustrates the difference in these medium grade barrels to the premium, more expensive barrels. It seems like with this budget AR, I've done reloads for it and everything, and you can get it to shoot. You can get it to shoot pretty good, about 1 MOA groups. This expensive AR, well, obviously you can get it to shoot better than I did here. These are just some factory loads, but it seems as though the barrel is able to perform better with a larger variety of ammunition. I imagine if you tested a bunch of different grain weights and even more bullets, I think the expensive AR would generally do a little bit better as far as variability. Probably wouldn't be as variable within the different types of ammunition, and I'd say for the most part it would do at least as well, if not better, than the budget AR. Now, the one thing to mention is originally I was going to do some reloads, and the bullets that I shoot for my 223, I shoot 75 grain hollow point bullets, and loaded some up, and I couldn't get them to work in the expensive AR. I don't know what that was, why that was the case, but maybe it was just the specific bullet that it didn't like. But anyway, I couldn't get them to work, so unfortunately I had to use just 55 grain factory bullets, which is kind of a standard bullet weight for ARs, especially if you go out and get the bulk cheap ammo for ARs. For 223, it's generally the 55 grain, so I feel like this is a pretty good indicator if you were just to go out and just shoot cheap box ammunition, kind of what you can expect. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time on Firearm Fury.